This week on Music Worth Buying, we're going to be checking out Short Movie by Laura Marling.
And How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful from Florence and the Machine.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Music Worth Buying. And my name is TJR. I am a musician and a music writer.
And my name is Robert Kinsler, and I'm a music writer and a musician.
Yes. And so we've scoured through lots of albums.
We have.
Yes, and we are picking out the very best of what we think is the best of what we've heard to share with you. And hopefully our discoveries will be your new discoveries. So I will start off this show, if thou doth not protest too much.
Okay, that works.
I shall start off with Short Movie by Laura Marling. And now, Laura Marling, this is her fifth album, British singer-songwriter. I'm going to start out by just saying this is one of the most beautiful sounding albums about isolation that I've ever heard. Many parts of this album deal with some of the feelings of dislocation that Marling felt when she lived in Los Angeles. Although there are some songs, there's a song called False Hope that dealt with her time in Manhattan during, the Hurricane Sandy.
Oh, okay.
Tragedy. And this is a bit of a departure for her. This is the first album where she plays electric guitar as opposed to acoustic instrumentation, the acoustic instrumentation of her previous albums. And this is also her first album as a co-producer. And part of the production of this album, one of the things she did was she added these layers of distorted bowed electric guitar to the album, which kind of creates this kind of low dissonant sound of the record. And she did a lot of other interesting things with this album. She, like for instance, there are some string players on this album. She requested that they perform blind, meaning that they only heard the track once, and then they were given just the key signature of the track of the song, which if you understand music theory, you'll understand what I'm talking about. They were given the key signature of the track and before recording their parts. And so let's go ahead. We're going to give a little bit of a listen to this here. This first track is called Don't Let Me Bring You Down. Here we go.
Where that's going. Somebody used to show me, they don't feel like showing. Please don't let me bring you down. Do I look like I'm bucking around?
Now, this is my first listen at all to anything off this album, but it's funny when you put it on, I immediately heard like Chrissy Hynde of the Pretenders. The tone, the resonance of her voice, kind of the directness and stuff, and just kind of the no nonsense delivery. But it's also I like the electric guitar and the sparseness and stuff. But it hits you right away. There's immediacy to the song. It's really good.
You're the second person now to bring up the Chrissy Hynde comparison. Something that didn't even click with me. Someone prior to you, a female friend I played it for, she immediately said, "Yeah, her voice."
Yeah, her voice is what I said. Yeah,
and you've brought it up, but also the attitude and the delivery.
The attitude and the delivery. Equally.
Yeah, there is this very kind of like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Kind of attitude that Chrissy Hynde has in her delivery that she also has here.
Yeah.
I too like the sparseness of it as well, and the way she delivers the electric guitar, the way she
good.
Just the way she plays it.
Yeah.
I've heard some of her previous albums where it's acoustic, and there is still a certain aggression to it. So I don't think this is a big leap for her, though she does get into gentle acoustic, rhythms and melodies as well, and also in this album too. I don't think it's like that big of a radical of a change for her. This song in particular, the opening lyrics, "Living here is just a game. Are you really nobody until someone knows your name?" And she's talking about her time in Los Angeles, and that part sounds very kind of pessimistic to me. It doesn't sound unwarranted. For LA, it doesn't sound unwarranted. Yet, from what I've read about her, she talks about this song being about the fact that she feels that LA is this city that rejects negativity.
Yeah.
And that's why she says, "Don't let me bring you down."
Yeah.
That they reject
Yeah.
negativity. And who knows? Maybe she's looking at it in kind of a pessimistic way, that people are too ultra positive. You know, they're trying so hard to be positive that they're refusing to accept that life isn't always positive. That life isn't always perfect. You know, and maybe that's kind of what she's getting at with this, because there is kind of this pessimistic attitude.
Yeah, interesting.
And I don't know if I've ever seen LA as being this town that rejects negativity. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
It's never been my experience.
Yeah, but we're not necessarily full outsiders, like as if coming from Europe or something.
True.
Maybe.
True. Yeah,
You know?
she's coming in as a complete outsider.
So.
But anyways, though, but let me go ahead and talk about the packaging on this one. I think it's a beautiful album cover. I love this watercolor design.
Yeah, very nice.
And here is the back. Here is the interior. And the disc itself also, I think, I want to show the disc. I don't always do that. The disc itself also it's just very simple, but it fits. It fits the whole color scheme of everything else with this album here, with the packaging. The booklet also, I think, very nice looking too. The whole watercolor effect. Lyrics are fairly easy to read. I found. Titles are not so easy, a little bit handwritten, but the printed lyrics are good. And, you know, I think it's very good. For me, this album kind of sits between Joni Mitchell's Court and Spark, Led Zeppelin 3, and The Doors' first album. And that description may not be as obvious to you from what little you've heard and what you're going to hear on the next track. But I think once you've heard the whole album, when I heard the whole album, as I thought about it a few times, I thought this album kind of fits somewhere between those three albums, in my opinion. If I have to classify it, you know, this is how it goes. Anyways, let's listen to another track. This one is inspired by the filmmaker. Hopefully, I say his name right, Jodorowsky. Hopefully, I say his name right. The Holy Mountain, and it's a song called Warrior. Here we go.
He needs to raise me on. He sees a battle he don't want to face so long. I bolt upwards and shake him off my back.
You know, that's very different from the first track we heard. I really like this, but I feel like it's deserving of a lot more listens than me just simply listening to it once like I can do here today. But I'm very impressed by it, and like the guitar, I like and the way that her voice is so prominent and so kind of, it's hushed but also kind of strong at the same time. But I feel like I'm saying a lot of gobbledygook here. But for a first listen, very impressed by it. But I feel like it's deserving of a lot of attention there.
The whole album is deserving of a lot of attention. I think this is a stellar album. Now I've heard her third album prior to this. I have not heard her fourth album, which I guess according to a lot of critics is supposed to be this kind of like this brilliant masterpiece.
Okay.
And that this was kind of a very hard album to follow up, and that she actually did write songs for the fifth album and then abandoned it, thinking that it wasn't worth doing, and then started on this instead.
Okay.
Now, as far as this song, I do not know the film that she's referencing. You know, that inspired it. So I don't have any of that to go on. I'm just taking in the imagery of the lyrics. The lyrics are very, imagery oriented, and so I'm just interpreting it in whatever way my own subconscious wants to interpret it.
Right.
I think it's a beautiful song. I think it's filled with beautiful imagery and beautiful melody too during those verses. I love the melody during the verses. But I think the whole album is really deserving. She is only 25 years old.
Wow.
This is her fifth album, and one of the things that I found funny, but I'm coming from an older perspective. Is that there's a song on this album, we won't get a chance to listen to a bit of it, it's called Easy, where she's talking to someone and explaining about when she was young. And she's speaking very melancholy of like, when I was young, when I was young.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I almost laugh because I think, oh honey, you're still young.
Yeah, very
You're
much.
still really young.
Yeah.
And, but then again, I guess when we were in our mid-20s, we look back on our earlier youth and look back on it with melancholy. I know Neil Young wrote Sugar Mountain. Looking back on the innocence of his youth with all this melancholy.
Yeah, or even an old man, like when he's saying 24 and there's so much more.
Yeah, he was like in his early mid-20s, writing that. But I mean, looking back on it, he's probably in his early mid-20s or so, writing that song Sugar Mountain. It's like he didn't realize how young he really
yeah,
was.
exactly. Yeah.
And I guess she doesn't either. But just an observation.
Yeah.
Great song though, beautiful
Yeah.
song. And anyways, though,
Very,
so, yeah.
very impressive. I'm looking forward to listening to the album. Yeah.
And there is a great music video, animated music video for the song we just heard called Warrior. Recommend you check that out as well. And so that's my pick. And what have you got for us?
Yeah, I've actually, here we are. I brought in another female artist, also from England, very fitting, and that's Florence and the Machine, headed by Florence Welch, obviously the singer-songwriter that's very well known. I mean, I've seen her twice at Coachella, and I also reviewed her at another show in San Diego. Fantastic. And her third album has just come out. It's called How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful, and it is a little bit of a tongue twister, but it's a fantastic album. I'd say I've been impressed by her first two albums, but I'd say this album already, I think, outdistances what she's done previously.
Okay.
Just very impressed by it. And why don't we do this? Well, let's listen to a little bit of the title track, and then we'll talk about the album.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me, see it too. We've opened our eyes and it's changing the view. Whoa, what are we gonna do? We've opened the door, now it's all coming through. How big, how blue, how beautiful, how big.
Now, first of all, I will just mention that I've never been that big of a fan of Florence and the Machine. I don't think she's like untalented or anything. I listened to her previous two albums, and I just felt they're just not for me. I didn't think I didn't say, oh, she's not good, she stinks, and anything like that. I just thought, this just isn't for me. I can see where, there are people who would like this. I kind of sense some Kate Bush influence. I like Kate Bush personally, but I wasn't getting...
that's a good comparison. Kind of like what Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush have done. She's kind of... kind of moved that forward.
Kind of continue with that.
Yeah.
I just wasn't... And I've never been the biggest Peter Gabriel fan either. I've liked some of his songs. But never been
What's
that big
wrong
of a
with
fan.
you?
I don't know. I'm just
No, go ahead.
I'm a meathead. What can you say? I'm a chowderhead. But I was never that big of a Peter Gabriel fan either. I like Kate Bush though, but I just wasn't getting into her recordings. I'll have to admit, I did give a cursory listen to some of this album on Spotify when it came out. I didn't get a chance to delve that deeply, but I thought this is better than anything I've ever heard previously.
Yeah.
And having heard this song now again with you, I can see where I could really get to like this song more as I go. But what I especially like is there's this huge epic ending, this big orchestrated ending that it closes with. It just kind of morphs into it from a band, it's because it has some rock to it.
Oh, it definitely does.
Yeah, and then it kind of morphs into this orchestration where the band goes away and it just becomes this orchestration that's very epic and powerful sounding. And I really liked that part of the song.
Yeah, and it is, and there's other songs on the album, none probably as fully as this one that utilize that, but I think the comparison about Kate Bush or Peter Gabriel is very accurate. There's a lot of things that you hear on that, like the parts of like what Sigur Rós has done with orchestras, and what Kate Bush and Peter Gabriel have done as far as being theatrical, adding those theatrical elements to the music. But also, I think the songs themselves are very good here, with great melodies, propulsive rhythms at times. I mean, I think that in it, and I think the whole thing is very cohesive. And it's funny with that this is also a song that, at least when I saw her at Coachella, she said was written about Los Angeles. So kind of fitting that both the artists we brought in today focused it on the City of Angels here.
Exactly,
but this is one of my favorite songs on the album. But I love the full album. For me so far, and we're about halfway through this year, I'd say Blur's The Magic Whip and this album are like front runners for me as far as two of the best albums I've heard in 2015.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I just really love it. Yeah, but now it comes with. Now I think what I have here is a deluxe edition. It is a deluxe edition. I got it on Amazon. Comes in a little slip case here where the CD and this really nice booklet come out. So here's just the CD here. But and I guess you'd call it a booklet, wouldn't you? Of some kind. It's
interesting.
It's interesting the way it folds out.
Here.
So you can see there's some pictures here. There's illustrations, but it kind of folds out, like that with all kinds of pictures. and stuff, and it's kind of interesting how it goes
And you have to keep
together. You
doing
have to
it
kind of do it,
in a row as you keep going through it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a standard booklet where you can just flip through it.
So you can see. So, and it's many pages, and there's not lyrics in it, but there are really detailed production notes. So some really neat photos, and obviously kind of ties in with kind of her creativity and that kind of stuff.
I looked at this booklet while I was listening to the track during the break, and I was impressed with how it was put together. It's not the typical experience of just flipping through a booklet. It makes you have to kind of go back and forth. And,
Very interactive in a way.
Yeah, kind of interactive in a way, yeah. But it forces you to take a closer look at the pictures.
Yeah.
I like that about it. I thought that all the photography was really nice. Lots of nice artistic pictures.
Yeah.
And and definitely something to be looking at while you're just listening to it with headphones.
Yeah.
Definitely. I also wanted to point out, and I hope you don't mind if
No.
I commandeer your spot here on the packaging.
No,
But I
no.
really wanted to say how much I really like this little aspect of it. That it starts with this picture, and then you open it up, and it has this picture here. This kind of alternate version of the set of the cover. I rather liked the way that worked.
Yeah, and it's like obviously a lot of effort went into the packaging.
Yes.
And obviously a lot of effort went into the music and stuff. Great,
That I can also say. certainly.
And she took some time off leading up to this album. I think people that liked Ceremonials, which came out in 2011, will love this album as well. But I think for maybe people like you that maybe didn't, get on the Florence and the Machine train the first time, maybe be willing to give it a listen and really listen to who I think she's just a fantastic artist.
Well, hearing this again today certainly has piqued my curiosity again, and I feel more inclined to go to Spotify now and listen to the album a little more fully now.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I think there's some songs here that are very accessible, and then there's other songs that maybe require a little bit deeper listening. But I don't think that this is anything alien or remote. Like, Sigur Rós, I get that, for one thing, it's not necessarily the songs aren't in English, so that's a challenge for some listeners. But I think with this, there is an immediacy and an accessibility to the songs. But also, like I said, it's not kind of what you're hearing on average on the radio.
Not at all.
So, which is great.
Not at
And what I thought we'd do is play a little bit of another song that's pretty accessible and catchy for everybody. So this song is called Queen of Peace, and let's listen to a little bit of that one.
Queen of Peace. Let's check it out.
Blood is running deep. Some things never sleep. Suddenly I'm overcome, dissolving like the setting sun, like a bottle to oblivion. 'Cause you're driving me away.
Okay, now I will say, not as into that track as I was the one previous. That one doesn't really grab me that much. But I'm still, based on what you've said today, and hearing you talk about it, I'm way more intrigued now to go back. I think the first time I listened, I was just in the middle of a lot of other things. There were all these other stuff I had to listen to. New Florence and the Machine Album, let's just at least give it a little bit of a listen. And heard some of it. But I think but after hearing you talk, I think I need to go back and really give it more attentive listening. Wasn't as into this track, I'll have to admit. Was way more into the first track. But that's just me. So anyways, what do I know?
It's funny. I can compare this experience to the first time I saw U2. Now, the first time I saw U2 was at the US Festival many years ago. I wasn't really familiar with the band at that point, beyond I Will Follow. I went to the US Festival, got there early in the afternoon. One band had just finished up, and U2 was getting ready to go. It was in the middle of the day. And they come out, they're doing Sunday Bloody Sunday, New Year's Day, they're doing 40, blew my socks off. I had that kind of reaction the first time I saw Springsteen, and I had that kind of reaction when I saw Florence and the Machine at Coachella.
Playing live.
So maybe that's kind of what gets you hooked in.
Is the live experience.
Yeah, live experience. And every time I've seen
Which
her
I haven't had yet.
Yeah. But I have to say, with this album, this album had that kind of, it grabbed me just like she did in concert, and I think that's a good sign too, that the music on this album equals kind of what she does when she's such a dynamic and mesmerizing concert performer, and I think this album really rivals the magic that she creates in concerts.
And I don't doubt that about her live. I haven't seen it yet, but if you're telling me so, I don't doubt it one bit.
Very great.
Okay, well, cool. Well, you've given me a desire to hear this album a little more fully now. You give me the desire.
Well, I
to do
did
that.
my job then.
You did your job, yeah.
And definitely with Laura Marling. I want to hear that album too.
Glad,
I was very impressed by what I heard there.
And now that I've heard this album by Laura Marling, and I've lived with it now for about a week and heard it several times, I am very anxious to now go back and hear the album that preceded it.
Okay.
This one that all the critics are raving
Yeah.
about, and see what I think, because I'm sold hook, line, and sinker by this album, Short
Yeah.
Movie. This
Yeah.
is, I think Short Movie is going to be one of my front runner for favorite albums.
Wow, that's
just
great.
like you were saying about this.
Yeah.
I didn't get to bring that up, but I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
I liked Short Movie that much.
I'm very impressed by a lot of the music we've been bringing to the show and
Yeah,
listening
well.
to in 2015. This is a banner year for,
Yeah,
for
I
great
think there's
new
been
music.
a lot of great music this
Yeah,
year so
I do
far.
too,
I
yeah.
think we had some leaner years previously, but I think we're really, things are coming out strong this
Yeah,
year.
I do too.
So yeah, okay. Well, hey, we want to thank you very much for watching the show. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done that, please do it now, right now. No, seriously, do it
Drop
right
what
now.
you're doing now.
Yeah, stop what you're doing right now. You just gotta hit the little button. Just the button says subscribe. Just do it. Okay. Thank you for that. And we thank you for sharing the show here on Facebook and Twitter with all your friends or any other social media you're taking part in. Thank you for doing that. It helps us more than we can say. Help us get the word out about the show. And until next time, let us. And if you've heard these albums, let us know what you thought. Give us your thoughts on it. Please leave a comment. And so until next time, my name's TJR. You can check out my music at tjrmusic.com and drop your email address on my homepage. Drop it into the little email list on my homepage. I will hook you up with some free MP3s and send you my newsletter. And you can check out my solo reviews. Hopefully I'll get around to them again here at the YouTube channel for Music Worth Buying.
And my name's Robert Kinsler, and you can read more of my work at ocregister.com, here at musicworthbuying.com, and of course at musicnewsnashville.com as well.
And musicworthbuying.com, Robert writes a lot more articles and stuff that we don't talk about here on the show, so check that out. Okay, and so we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.